My phone lit up with a notification from my credit monitoring app. I was sitting in my corner office on the 42nd floor of a tech building in downtown Seattle, watching the rain streak down the windows. The alert read, "New account opened in your name, $30,000 credit limit." My stomach dropped. I hadn't opened any new accounts. I'm Maya Chen, and at 32 years old, I had finally made it. Just 3 weeks earlier, I'd been promoted to director of product at one of Seattle's fastest-growing tech companies. The promotion came with a salary bump to $180,000, plus stock options that could be worth $500,000 if the company went public. It was the culmination of 10 years of 60-hour work weeks, missed holidays, and paying off $80,000 in student loans entirely on my own. But as I stared at that notification, a sick feeling crept over me. Because deep down, I already knew who was behind it. Let me back up. I'm the oldest of 2 children in a Vietnamese-American family. My parents immigrated to the U.S. in the 90s with nothing and built a small contracting business in Tacoma. They worked hard, and I respect that. But they also brought with them some very traditional ideas about family hierarchy. Specifically, the idea that the son is golden and the daughter exists to support the family. My brother Daniel is 29. Growing up, he got the newer laptop, the better car, the bigger bedroom. When I wanted to go to college, my parents told me they couldn't afford to help. When Daniel wanted to go 2 years later, they somehow found $20,000 for his first year. He dropped out after 3 semesters to start a business, then another business, then another. All 3 failed. Each time my parents bailed him out. Each time I was lectured about family loyalty when I suggested maybe Daniel should get a regular job for a while. And each time, I was asked why I couldn't be more supportive of my brother's dreams. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs through college. I graduated with honors. I took an entry-level position at a tech startup and worked my way up through 3 different companies. I sent money home when my parents needed help with their mortgage. I never asked for anything in return. 3 weeks ago, I made the mistake of celebrating my promotion at a family dinner. I should have known better. I should have just kept my mouth shut, collected my paycheck, and maintained my carefully constructed boundaries. But I was proud. For the first time in my life, I wanted my parents to see that their daughter had actually accomplished something significant. The dinner started well enough. My mom made all my favorite dishes. My dad actually smiled when I told them about the promotion. Then Daniel showed up an hour late, wearing a wrinkled hoodie and carrying a battered laptop. "That's amazing, sis," he said when I shared my news. His eyes, though, were calculating. I'd seen that look before. It was the same look he'd had when he asked to borrow my car for a quick errand and returned it 3 days later with an empty tank and a dent in the bumper. We were barely through dinner when he launched into his pitch. He'd been working on a new food delivery app, he explained. It was going to revolutionize the industry. All the big players were doing it wrong. He just needed capital to get it off the ground. "I'm thinking $100,000 would cover the initial development and marketing push," he said casually, as if he were asking me to pass the salt. "You just got that bonus, right? This could be huge for both of us." I set down my fork carefully. "Daniel, I'm not investing in another one of your startups." "Another one?" His voice rose. "Maya, you've never invested in any of my ventures. You've never supported me at all." "That's not true. I helped you move 3 times. I proofread your business plans. I introduced you to people in the industry who gave you advice. But you never put your money where your mouth is. Because you've never finished anything you started." The table went silent. My mother's face tightened. My father stared at his plate. "Maybe if you had some faith in me, I would finish something," Daniel said. His voice had taken on that wounded tone he always used when he wasn't getting his way. "You know what? Forget it. I should have known better than to ask my own sister for help." He stood up and left. My mother immediately turned to me. "You hurt your brother's feelings." "Mom, he asked me for $100,000. He's family. You're supposed to help family." "I do help. But I'm not giving him $100,000 for another business that's going to fail in 6 months." "You don't know it will fail," my father said quietly. "You're very quick to judge your brother. Maybe if you showed him some support, he would have more confidence." I left shortly after, frustrated but not particularly surprised. This was the dynamic I'd grown up with. Daniel was the dreamer who needed protection and support. I was the responsible one who was supposed to provide it without complaint. I thought that was the end of it. A week later, I got the credit alert. I pulled up the details with shaking hands. The account had been opened 4 days ago at a major bank. The application listed my name, my social security number, and my income. but the billing address was my parents' house in Tacoma. I called the bank immediately. Yes, the account was real. No, they couldn't tell me who had initiated the application without a police report. I hung up and sat in my office, my mind racing. Daniel had my social security number. He'd needed it years ago for something insurance-related when he was on my policy. My parents had access to all my information from when I was younger, but would they really help him commit fraud? I drove to Tacoma that evening. My parents were in the living room watching television. Daniel's car was in the driveway. "We need to talk," I said, walking in without knocking. Daniel emerged from the kitchen, a beer in his hand. He looked relaxed, almost smug. "What's up, sis? Did you open a credit card in my name?" "What? No. Why would I do that?" "Because there's a $30,000 credit line that was just opened using my information, and the billing address is this house." My mother stood up. "Maya, why would you accuse your brother of something like that?" "Because someone did it, and the evidence points here." "This is ridiculous," Daniel said. "You can't just come in here and make accusations." I pulled out my phone and showed them the credit alert, then explained this. My father took the phone, studied it, and handed it back. "Maybe someone stole your identity. It happens all the time. You should report it to the police." "That's exactly what I'm going to do, and when they investigate, they're going to trace it back here." Daniel's expression shifted slightly. Just a flicker, but I caught it. "Fear. You wouldn't do that," my mother said. Her voice was sharp now. "You wouldn't report your own brother to the police. If he committed fraud, yes, I would." "It's not fraud," Daniel blurted out. "I was going to pay it back. I just needed some capital to get things started, and you said no. What was I supposed to do?" The room went completely still. "You admitted it," I said slowly. "You actually admitted you stole my identity. I didn't steal anything. We're family. What's yours is basically mine anyway, right? You make almost $200,000 a year now. You can afford to spot me $30,000. Did you know about this?" I asked my parents. My mother looked away. My father cleared his throat. "Your brother explained the situation," my father said. "He said he was going to pay it back before you even noticed. We thought it was a reasonable plan. You have the means to help him, and he needs this opportunity." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You co-signed on this? You helped him commit fraud?" "Don't be dramatic," my mother said. "It's not fraud when it's family. We're helping each other. That's what families do." "No," I said quietly. "That's not what families do. Families don't steal from each other." I left and drove straight to the police station. I filed a report. The officer who took my statement was sympathetic but not surprised. Apparently, family identity theft was more common than I'd realized. 2 days later, I got a call from my mother. "You need to drop the police report," she said without preamble. "I'm not going to do that. Maya, they're treating this as a criminal matter. Your brother could go to jail. Then maybe he shouldn't have committed a crime. How can you be so heartless? This is your brother we're talking about. My brother who stole my identity and committed fraud. Yes, I know. He made a mistake. You're going to ruin his life over one mistake? He ruined his own life. I'm just refusing to be a victim." She hung up on me. The next call came from my father the following day. He tried a different approach, appealing to my sense of filial duty. In our culture, he explained, children owed their parents respect and obedience. By pursuing this legal action, I was bringing shame on the entire family. I listened patiently and then said, "I love you, Dad. But I'm not going to let Daniel destroy my credit and my financial future because of culture or tradition or family loyalty. What he did was wrong. What you did was wrong. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise." He hung up too. A week later, I received legal documents by certified mail. My parents were suing me. The lawsuit claimed that I owed them compensation for raising me, and that I had violated an implicit family contract by refusing to support my brother's business ventures. They were seeking $200,000, roughly the cost of raising a child to 18, plus interest. I sat in my apartment, reading the lawsuit over and over, unable to process what I was seeing. My own parents were suing me. Not just supporting Daniel's fraud, but actively suing me for refusing to enable it. The lawsuit went further. They claimed that by filing the police report, I had caused emotional distress to the family. They also claimed that my success was partially due to family support over the years, including the recipes my grandmother had taught me that I'd apparently used to build my career. That last part didn't even make sense since I worked in tech, not food service, but logic didn't seem to be their strong suit at the moment. I called a lawyer the next day. Her name was Jennifer Park, and she specialized in family law. When I explained the situation, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Your parents are suing you for the cost of raising you?" she asked. "Yes." "And claiming you owe your brother business support?" "Yes." Another pause. "Miss Chen, I'm going to be very direct with you. This lawsuit has no legal merit whatsoever. Parents cannot sue their children for the cost of raising them. That's a voluntary obligation they undertook when they chose to have children. There's no legal basis for this claim. So they're going to lose? Almost certainly. But that doesn't mean it won't be stressful and expensive. These things can drag on, and even frivolous lawsuits require a defense." I hired her on the spot. The next few weeks were surreal. I was navigating depositions, document requests, and legal strategy sessions while still trying to do my job. My parents refused to speak to me except through their lawyer. Daniel had gone silent on social media. The few extended family members who knew what was happening had split into camps. Some thought I was justified. Others thought I was destroying the family. The credit card fraud investigation was proceeding in parallel. The detective assigned to my case was thorough. He traced the application, interviewed the bank employees, and pulled surveillance footage. Daniel had gone into the bank in person, armed with my personal information and forged documents. My parents had co-signed, verifying his identity and promising to cover any shortfalls. It was premeditated, planned, not a momentary lapse in judgment. The court date for the civil lawsuit arrived first. We met at the King County Courthouse on a gray Seattle morning. My parents sat on one side of the courtroom with their lawyer, someone they'd clearly hired on a budget. Daniel was there too, looking uncomfortable in an ill-fitting suit. I sat with Jennifer, reviewing my notes and trying to keep my hands from shaking. This was my family. The people who had raised me, who had taught me to ride a bike and helped me with homework. And now we were sitting in a courtroom. Adversaries. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Winters. She had a reputation, Jennifer had told me, for being no-nonsense and impatient with frivolous cases. My parents' lawyer went first. He presented their case with as much dignity as he could muster, given that he was essentially arguing that adult children owed their parents reimbursement for their childhood. He cited vague notions of family obligation and cultural tradition. He claimed that I had benefited from their support and owed them reciprocal care. Judge Winters listened with an increasingly skeptical expression. When it was Jennifer's turn, she was surgical. She cited case law. She referenced statutes. She methodically dismantled every argument my parents' lawyer had made. "Your Honor," she concluded, "this lawsuit is not just without merit. It's vindictive. Miss Chen filed a legitimate police report regarding identity theft and fraud. Rather than acknowledging wrongdoing, her parents have chosen to retaliate through the legal system. They're attempting to use this court to punish their daughter for refusing to enable criminal behavior." Judge Winters looked at my parents. "Is it true that your son opened credit accounts in your daughter's name without her permission?" My father stood. "Your Honor, he's her brother. In our culture, family helps each other. She makes a very good salary. She could afford to help him." "That's not what I asked," Judge Winters said. Her voice was sharp. "Did your son commit identity theft? Yes or no?" There was a long silence. "He made a mistake," my mother said finally. "That's a yes," Judge Winters said. She turned to Daniel. "Young man, stand up." Daniel rose reluctantly. "You committed fraud," Judge Winters said. "Not a mistake. Fraud. And rather than taking responsibility, you and your parents have attempted to weaponize the legal system to avoid consequences. Do you understand how serious identity theft is?" "Yes, Your Honor," Daniel mumbled. "I don't think you do." She looked at the paperwork in front of her. "Miss Chen has every right to pursue criminal charges. She has every right to protect her financial future. And she has absolutely no legal obligation to fund your business ventures or reimburse your parents for raising her." She turned to my parents' lawyer. "Counselor, I'm dismissing this lawsuit with prejudice. That means your clients cannot refile. Additionally, I'm sanctioning them for bringing a frivolous claim. They will pay Miss Chen's legal fees. Is that clear?" My parents' lawyer nodded, looking miserable. "Furthermore," Judge Winters continued, "I'm referring this matter to the prosecutor's office with a recommendation that they pursue the identity theft charges. This court will not tolerate using litigation as a weapon against victims of fraud, especially when those victims are family members." She banged her gavel. "We're adjourned." I sat there, stunned. It was over. Jennifer was smiling, gathering her papers. Across the aisle, my mother was crying. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years. Daniel had his head in his hands. I felt no triumph, just an overwhelming sadness. The criminal case moved forward. Daniel's lawyer negotiated a plea deal: 200 hours of community service, 3 years of probation, and full restitution of the $30,000 plus interest. He would have a fraud conviction on his record. My parents, because they'd co-signed and facilitated the fraud, were charged as accessories. They took a plea deal as well: fines, probation, and community service. They also had to pay my legal fees, which totaled nearly $40,000. To cover their costs, they had to take a second mortgage on their house. I went no contact after the trial. I blocked their numbers, blocked them on social media, and made it clear through Jennifer that any future communication should go through her. Some of my extended family reached out, trying to mediate. But I was done. There's a difference between family conflict and family betrayal. What Daniel did was betrayal. What my parents did in supporting him and then suing me was unforgivable. 6 months later, I'm sitting in that same corner office, watching the rain streak down the windows. The company is preparing for our IPO. My stock options are going to vest. I'm dating someone I met through friends, someone who comes from a healthy family and who couldn't believe my story when I first told him. I've started therapy. I'm working through the guilt and the anger and the grief. Because I do grieve. I grieve the family I thought I had, and the parents I deserved but never got. But I don't regret my choices. I don't regret filing that police report or defending myself in court. I don't regret setting boundaries and enforcing them. I learned something important through all of this. Family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, trust, and mutual support. Real family doesn't steal from you. Real family doesn't sue you for protecting yourself. Real family doesn't enable criminal behavior and then punish you for being a victim. My brother is working at a warehouse now, rebuilding his life. I heard through mutual connections that he's actually showing up on time and following through on commitments for the first time in his life. Maybe consequences were what he needed all along. My parents send cards occasionally, despite the no-contact order. I don't open them. Maybe someday I'll be ready for that conversation, but not today. Not until they can acknowledge what they did was wrong without excuses or justifications. I bought myself a plant for my office. It's a small thing, but it matters. I'm building a life that's mine, on my terms, with boundaries that protect me. I'm surrounding myself with people who celebrate my success instead of trying to exploit it. And I'm finally learning what it feels like to be free. The sun is starting to break through the Seattle clouds. My phone buzzes with a text from my boyfriend asking if I want to grab dinner tonight. I smile and type back a yes. This is what family should feel like. Support without strings. Love without conditions. Pride without resentment. I wish my parents could have given me that. I wish Daniel could have been happy for me instead of entitled to my success. I wish things were different, but they're not, and I'm okay with that now. I built this life with my own hands. I earned every dollar, every promotion, every moment of peace. Nobody can take that from me. Not anymore. I close my laptop and gather my things. It's time to go home to the apartment I pay for, in the city I chose, living the life I built. It's not the life I imagined as a kid, with Sunday dinners and family holidays and unconditional support. But it's mine, and that's enough.